and welcome to another fantastic episode of Silver Scraps. This is our third episode of the season? Yeah, third.
Third.
We did a
Yeah.
preseason episode, so yeah, third episode, and as is tradition, we are going to be doing the one and only Silver Scraps Irrational Predictions. For those of you who have not seen this lovely thing before, what we're going to be doing is based off of 2 weeks of games. We are going to be predicting the end of the regular season. That is what we're going to be doing. There is basically no data whatsoever, and overall, we are usually hilariously wrong about what is going to happen. So to make sure that not only we are wrong, we have polled the community. 16 of you did respond to the form to let us know who you thought would end up where, and we are going to be comparing ourselves to you, and then later in the season, we are going to be going back over these to see basically how stupid we were.
The answer is very.
I think the record was once Colonel Cannon got an entire division correct.
That's impressive.
It was the only time I've ever seen it happen. I think the last time we actually went through and did this, me, Decker, and Tex, I got 0 correct.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So there a lot of things can happen. This is competitive rulings, roster changes. Somebody can get hit by a car. Like, who knows what's going to happen to make this bad? I don't know about you, but the stuff that happened in week 2 certainly changed things for me. But let's see. So we are going to be starting off with the wonderful Piltover division. So to explain what's going on here with the community poll, what we did is we assigned a points to each place. So for each first place vote, you got 7 points, and for each 7th placed vote, you got 1 point. And then we totaled all the points up, and that's how you get this. Makes sense. The more people that voted for higher ranks, the better points you are. The more people that voted for lower ranks, the farther down you are. Up, low, up. Yes.
As a note, highest possible point total is 112 points is the maximum.
Given that there are 16 people who responded, 7 times 16. There you go.
Trying to match every time you pointed up. I was trying to point down, so that way we would just be pointing at Bickle.
It's all Bickle's fault. Yes.
Absolutely, blame me entirely. I fully accept this.
I was going to do it a different way, right? Initially of going with the most popular responses, right? Where the number of people that were voted in a particular spot, that's where they would go. Unfortunately, there were too many ties, and Bickle came up with this solution. So it is, in fact, Bickle's fault.
Yay, math.
I mean, at the rate it's going with our faults, me and Bickle might just be getting blamed for BOL IBS streams not working if it doesn't work.
Yeah, we obviously sabotaged the spectator client.
Absolutely.
We just didn't feel like doing our job.
Absolutely. So, you want me to start? You want to start?
You're first on the list, it looks like. So
I
go
am on
for
the
it.
left. Okay. So I don't think that this is the most out there kind of thing, right? Revolution X, I have as number 1. BSG Iota, number 2. Revolution Anarchy, number 3. Whooper Academy, 4. 5 SNC Sunset Ravens. 6 Hyperion Galaxy. 7 Iconic. And we all have Iconic across the board.
That is true.
Including the community.
Including the community. I will say, in defense of Iconic, you are by far not the lowest.
You'll see them next. And I have a feeling you can all guess who it is.
I don't think that's a surprise either. So I guess this, for me, this is the general problem I have with Iconic moving up. I have started on teams, right, and completed entire splits, right, with 3 of the 5 members of Iconic. I have played with the 4th one of their current roster. And I do believe that when all the dice roll sixes, or they hit the nat 20, or they hit the jackpot on the slot machine, or they hit a blackjack, they get the royal flush. I'm trying to keep coming up with gambling metaphors, and I'm failing.
Yahtzee.
They get the maximum score on roulette. I don't know. I don't gamble. That they can beat just about any team here. Unfortunately, I just don't see a lot of those things happening all at once. The general concept of Iconic is that you've put a carry jungler in with a weak side top laner, and it's unfortunate that, as a general statement, your two remaining carries in mid and AD carry are on the weaker side. Now, when they pop off, they look ridiculous, right? But that exact hasn't happened yet, where we've seen either Nub the Scrub or Minami take over a game.
They can look very good. The issue is they are in a division that has some very strong players in those lanes, like Valor and Asian Soul Sniper down at 80 carry.
Yep,
You're going to be hard to top those two, even with a good performance.
I would definitely agree with that. So that's just kind of the expectation, just given this. Now, I will say some of this bias against Iconic. They have played in general the number 1 and number 3 teams.
True.
That's who they.
But they also lost their starting support.
From talking with Iconic players, it was mutual.
It was very mutual.
Yeah, it was.
But,
it was. Things were going in that direction already. So let's see here.
So what you're saying, Arx, is we have to ban you for poaching now.
Yes.
I didn't poach. I actually didn't poach. I didn't even know the person was on the roster.
Okay, poaching for honor.
Oh,
Look. I always thought it was a player searching for team, and then it took like a couple days of talking to him. He was like, "I have to drop for my BOL team first." I'm like, "Wait, you're on a BOL roster?"
Sometimes that's the way it goes, where players start looking before things go down. What was I going to say? So that's a really weird one, for just given what I've said, what Bickle has said, what the community has said. So, Arx, why do you have Revolution Anarchy 6th?
They played one game. I can't put them too high after 2 weeks. They lost.
This is irrational. We're predicting.
this is final. This is final
finals.
predictions, not current.
But no, this is what from how I've seen them play in one series, and predicting how they will play the rest of the season based on that one game of knowledge. I can't put them that high.
Okay,
That is fair.
that's fair.
And it follows with the other side. Well, outside of the copium.
You have some major copium. You aren't the only one.
Can you share it with the rest of us?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
It's in the magic water.
The magic water. The copium is
The Michael Jordan juice.
we don't have animated characters on greens, unfortunately. So, Bickle, you have SNC Sunset Ravens, the lowest out of all of us.
Yeah, it's honestly, it feels like for Piltover, there's like a top group that everybody agrees upon, and then like a bottom chunk that everybody agrees upon, and it's just trying to mix and fit everything. And we've seen so little from Anarchy and Galaxy that I think they'll show more as time goes on. I've seen scrims by both these teams, and I know they are better than what they've shown.
Right.
And SNC Sunset Ravens, I still just don't know that much about. And I am a pessimist
what
usually,
you're saying
so
is you're in the same boat as me, unfortunately, which is
yeah.
Unfortunately, SNC Sunset Ravens get shafted by the fact that I feel more strongly about other people.
Exactly. They get shafted by being in Piltover.
Basically.
That is true. That my biggest struggle was 4th and through 6. because like I feel like they would all do about the same, but it was just a matter of figuring out who would do better.
And also, it's like strength of schedule, and also like who loses the random one-off game. Like those sorts of
Exactly.
things.
Who's going to drop to Iconic?
Somebody will. I do not
Yeah.
believe that Iconic is going winless.
No. I don't believe anybody goes undefeated. I don't believe anybody goes winless.
Absolutely.
Might be Hyperion.
I think so. I think this is some biases too. So, Arcs, why do you have GSG Iota number 1 when everyone else here has them number 2?
I think that GSG Iota, very good roster. Timic,
Absolutely.
great person.
Yes.
Montai, great individual. OMG, amazing. I think Squad Fam and One Hand can only get better from here.
That's very true. I mean, I literally, at the time of recording this, when we record this on Monday, August 22nd, I played with them yesterday. Like, they are certainly capable, right? Like, they absolutely are. I think they
Squad Fam started rough.
I think they get a bit overeager, is what we'll say.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like Star, but with Flash. That's basically Squad Fam.
Whooper Academy, I think, is the real team that we've been talking about on every show, right? I think that Whooper Academy is going to, more so than the community and everyone else, I think that they're going to run into a bit of a roadblock as they get figured out. Their game times continue to be a little long. They tend to rely on that late game. I don't know.
They're a late game team revolving around their bot lane to make the plays to carry them. And they looked good week 1 against what we collectively have as the lowest ranked team. And they did take a game off GSG Iota. The question is, how will they fare against the rest of the field?
And I think it's going to be to me, more than some other teams. I think they're the gatekeeper team, right? Where if you don't have an answer of how to deal with Whooper, whether it's go just as late and out macro them, or try to match them early, I think you're just going to suffer, because I do think that Asian Soul Slayer so far is probably the best looking AD carry in the league in the league at this point in time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Now, again,
I was thinking maybe Crockpot, but yeah, I'd give it to Asian.
And that's just right now. And Crockpot's looking amazing, so we'll get there. Overall, I don't think that there's anything terribly weird here, right? It's for being such a stacked division. I think that we and the general community vibe at this point in time is that Revolution X and GSG Iota are 1-2. Anarchy, Whooper, SNC are 3-4-5 in some fashion, and then Hyperion and Iconic are 6-7. And I think a lot of that, unfortunately, is just due to, 1, Iconic's current performance, and 2, Hyperion being full of relatively unknown players.
Plus week 1 having the internet play against them, and then having it by week 2 where they don't get to bounce back.
Exactly.
So we've seen one game from half of their players.
Yes, that is correct.
True.
But overall, I think this is good. I don't think that there's anything surprising. We could be very wrong, right? Like, I am way more confident that this division ends up sort of correct than I am about Zon.
All right,
that's fair.
I'm the strap.
And I have more spicy takes for Zon.
Same.
So with that, we're going to move to Zon.
Spicy takes here.
So, community poll overwhelmingly in favor of TD Syndicate. There were literally only 2 responses that were not for TD Syndicate in first place.
TD Syndicate got 110 out of a possible 112 points, and then on the other side of the spectrum, Glacial Academy got 18 out of a minimum 16 points.
Yes.
There were only 2 people who did not put them last place, and they put them in 6th.
Yes. I think the big surprise here, overall, is Tenebrous Esports Aeon. it's a team for me personally that I'm rather high on, right? Like I've been watching them, I'm liking what I am seeing from them. Clearly the community thought so. Now, the one thing that I will say is the reason that these teams from the community side have broken down the way that they have is primarily due to more people in general had Tenebris Esports Aeon higher than other teams. And in general, that's it, right? 74, 68, 64, 60. Let's see at 59. This is all very, very close together. So this could be very, very wrong from the community.
Like the thing with when we look back at Piltover, it was very much okay. Everybody voted for these teams in the top, these teams in the bottoms.
Yep.
In Zaun, everybody put TD top 2, everybody put Glacial at last or there, and then the other 5 teams all had votes anywhere from 2nd to 6th.
Yep.
They all were spread out.
There
completely
was an
diverse.
even split in if you look at the number of votes for a team at a particular point, there were 3 teams with 4 votes for second, which just makes it really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Okay, Glacial Academy. Okay, Bickle. Can you talk to me about Eden's Blazing Stars?
Eden's Blazing Stars so far, like they are 1-1, but that one win does come against Glacial due to a forfeit of one game and then going 1-1.
Yep.
And when you're splitting with a team at the bottom of the league, it doesn't necessarily look the best. And then Subatomic Gaming Antimatter kind of curb stomped them this week.
I will say that I think that there's some bright spots on Eden's Blazing Stars, but I just don't know exactly when or where it's going to come.
I'd like to see them against some of the other middle of the pack teams, like against Feed the Dream and GSG, to see how things roll out.
I don't think that Eden's Blazing Stars is going to have the roster change issues that some other bottom teams tend to have. My concern is more that they are a team full of role swaps, and I wonder how fast people are going to come up to speed.
Takes time.
It does. It really, really does. I just role swapped again, and I would say that it's really hard to do comfortably in under about 3 months. I don't really know how you can do it quicker than that.
I know week 2 they had T Wayne have to sub in, and then I Hate People had to play ADC, and he is not an ADC player. He cannot play ADC. He's really bad at it.
Stuff happens, right? I mean, I just saw Only Magical Girls Jungle, so things can happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to talk a bit about Feed the Dream, and I love Feed the Dream. I've run many teams for Feed the Dream. I know all of these people quite intimately. I got my start playing with a ghost machine 3 years ago. I have helped Tame run this org, right? Like, I know these people well. Puffin coached me when I won my first title. The problem that I think Feed the Dream is going to have is that they are having to figure out what they are doing in terms of identity, in terms of style, in terms of draft. And given that it is currently week 2, they have lost twice. I'm not confident that they are going to figure it out in time.
My opinion on this team
Yeah.
is that Puffin has to carry. If Puffin does not 1v9, they lose the game.
And Puffin has looked solid, especially this past week. Puffin did their best. It just wasn't enough.
I still don't believe Ghost Machine is actually going to do anything other than help push their lead forward if they already have a huge lead.
I don't disagree with that statement. I really don't.
And Tamed and Chubby, I feel like, are kind of like those players that help the team get ahead, but they're not going to be the ones to step forward and be the ones to carry the team.
And it's a lot to figure out. And it's not that you can't do it with these pieces or these players, right? It's just my primary worry is by the time that this is figured out, the standings are going to kind of already be set.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bickle,
Yes.
you and I disagree greatly here. You have
On
on Tenebris Esports AL.
that is fair. You
I-
say greatly, but we both having them make playoffs.
I am the one
Well,
that has
I'm
him fifth
sorry.
place.
I misread my sheet here.
Oh no, you're talking to arcs.
I'm talking about arcs. I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's my reason for this.
All
So-
white men look the same. So
Wow.
But anyways, so this team split with GSG. Like they won 2-1.
yes,
Scout was playing ADC.
yes,
He's fairly new at ADC. Star subpar support. Squirrels newer jungler.
right.
They struggled. I mean, they struggled to take these 2 wins off GSG. Like they were all close games. GSG just made a couple roster changes that I already was putting in the process of doing. So, the reason I'm putting GSG higher by what I believe by what they'll do at the end of the season is because from what I've seen them play, I don't think that they are actually as good as people are going to think they are until they're able to show they can take a game off either TD Syndicate or Subatomic Gaming. If they can do that, then I will put them in the top 3, top 4.
See, I have my perspective is right. That like I look at this team and I look at that they're going to grow. Right now, I'm not saying that this in the most confident manner. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I anticipate more, right, that GSG is going to have some struggles. I anticipate more that Subatomic Gaming Antimatter is going to have some issues, right? I'm not saying it like that they're a bad team, but it's the kind of thing that it comes down to what games you lose more than that, because I do expect, from what I've seen, Tenebris Esports Aeon to continue the trend.
They are a team that is growing and will continue to grow and will make strides. Honestly, the only reason I don't have them third is because I wanted to match GSG Psy up with GSG Iota in the playoffs, and I thought that'd be fun to do.
Valid, and I killed the idea of brackets because I have a pounding headache. Scheduling this has been an absolute nightmare, and I'm lazy.
Yeah. And I also didn't really pay attention to the match results. I didn't realize that was it Feed the Dream played them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would have actually flipped the 2.
Oh, too late.
Too late.
That is too late, but it's fine.
Um,
Plus, if you flip them, you and I have identical predictions, and we can't have that.
GSG Psy,
Yeah.
I expect to make playoffs, and I kind of expect them to do it just barely. No offense. I haven't really
agree.
seen an Arcs
I agree.
team not make playoffs, right? You
I've
do know
I've never had a
if
team
you
not make playoffs.
if there is one skill that you have as someone who makes teams, it is you know very, very well when to make roster changes. And you tend to make, whether by luck or by intuition, good roster changes in the middle of the season.
Mhm. I really do try to pay attention to my team. Like I sit in their scrims. I literally take away my free time to sit in every single scrim that I can sit in
Right.
and listen to them. And if I notice a player start playing worse and beginning to not play like a team player, then that's when those roster changes are going to start wanting to come in.
And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, right? Like there's a difference between like revamping your roster once and
Continually doing it every week and
being
bringing in different e-subs.
I'm trying to think of
I,
continual
my thing is,
e-subs, continual changes, right? Like
yeah.
there's a difference between the feeling that your team is circling the drain and nobody wants to play for you and revamping your roster.
I've never made a roster change for the case of trying to win.
Right.
All my roster
I
changes
know you.
have come from the toxicity of players that have to be removed.
So maybe you should stop picking up toxic players. That's
True.
all there is.
That's why Leper has not played for my team yet.
I'm toxic.
And Bickle as well. But
I'm
Bickle
not even
already
going to
ranked out,
pretend for a
so-
minute that I am an easy person to get along with. So
I hate everybody. You can ask my teammates.
Bickle, what team do you even play on?
In BOL, nothing. In
Exactly.
Aegis, coachless.
yep.
I know you play on Coachless, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
TD
you
Syndicate,
gonna
I
rank
think
out?
that even if issues occur
Yeah, ranked out.
for TD Syndicate later in the season, I just think that the momentum is too far on their side. That I think that by the time the issues do occur for TD Syndicate, they are just going to have the record to retain first. Because I do think that every team below them is going to have more give and take, right? That a team's going to show up this week and take some games here that they might not have otherwise. A team's going to lose some games that they shouldn't have over here. I just don't see that from TD.
I can see. This is gonna be a blast to one of the players, but the same support that TD has as their starter right now, Rex. He still has the same bad habit of just going in lane constantly, even when the ADC is not there. Like, and I think that will make them lose games.
The thing that I've seen a lot is that teams that have a very, very formulaic style oftentimes get figured out and
Hmm.
they suffer at the end of the split.
But
That can be that's the thing that can happen. But
but they have Lemon Sap and they have Super Square. I mean,
that's sometimes
That's a
that's all
hell of a
you
mid
need.
jungle.
That's sometimes that's all you need. So
Yeah, honestly, if you can't figure that duo out and find a way to not even beat it, just equal it, you're gonna be in trouble.
because
Because these are two players that are capable of running over a game.
and they're both players that are very capable of pushing a lead when they get a very, very small one. So
and
part of the plan has to be just how do we even get to start play?
yeah, and I do believe that TD has probably the best full roster of players. Like all their subs, I think outside of a Covey, obviously have seen start on other teams and do at least a mid to top
Yeah.
level play.
I think I've
Ganondorf,
seen a Covey sub in a couple of
I've seen a
times.
Kobe sub
He's
a
been
couple
decent.
times, yeah.
He's been good.
I think Grimes is the best support on that roster.
I would agree with
Um,
that.
Coach Oni, I think he's like a mid tier IBS jungler. You know, Ganondorf, I think highly of when he wants to play,
Sometimes people don't want to play, and that's
and that's
okay.
just from personal experience from having him on my team.
So I think that covers everything. I don't think that there's anything terribly exciting.
Uh,
People are going to disagree.
That's
So
normal.
very, very normal.
last, I mean, we can talk about subatomic gaming. I mean, if you really want,
I mean,
talk about
they've
Jack and
they've
Tommy.
revamped their roster. I think Jack is going to be a pretty solid mid laner here. Tommy is definitely a capable top laner. Um, this
I
is
think if anybody's going to match Lemon Sap, it's going to be Jack.
I don't think so.
I
I do not. I am going to argue with that one.
my current opinion right now is that Lemon Sap is the best mid in the league.
I
I
believe,
agree with that.
I believe Jack is getting figured out.
Yes, I also
And
agree with that.
you ban Syndra Ori right now. What is he doing to carry the game?
Yep. It's like I'm in a similar boat, right? Like if you take me off my champions, what am I going to do? There's something
Uh,
to be said for that, right? And I'll say it. My controversial take, right, is if you are eating more than 2 bans a game, and your team is not doing things to make that a bad choice.
Yeah.
It's not the player; it's the rest of the team.
If a player is playing well enough on a couple champions that they are forcing bans to be specifically designated to them, the rest of the team should use the ability to pick up higher prevalence and power champions of their pool to make an impact.
Absolutely, because it's difficult, right? Like, and the best example I've seen is Feathers, right? Like I've seen Feathers as a top laner over and over and over again draw 4 or 5 bans, and that's nothing against Feathers. It's the rest of the team needs to step up and make sure they make a much more difficult choice.
My favorite example of this was IBS Worlds semifinals, Coachless Tyranny versus TD Syndicate. We 5-banned Super Square, they 5-banned Downfall.
Right. And we know how that series went, didn't we?
Downfall said I still have more.
there are some players that have the opposite problem, right? Where they have a lot to play and aren't exactly great at any of them.
Sure.
Not
I think
saying that about Downfall, but
no. But back to Subatomic, I think Jax will do if he hasn't gets to having a third or fourth champion that he plays at the level of that Syndra and Orianna,
it's going to take a
he will
lot.
be top. He will be a top 2 mid laner easily.
That's going to take a lot of work, and I don't mean that to disparage Jack or his skill on those champions, right? That is thousands of games on Syndra.
Yeah, that's not saying, oh, he's not necessarily the best on other champions. It's saying, no, his Ori and his Syndra are really good.
Yes. Vesuvius, in the jungle, solid jungler.
Nope.
Not he's in the support now.
Itami.
It's a Tommy.
Tommy in the jungle. Okay.
Yeah, Vesuvius was there for like 2 days until they dropped them from their roster.
Yeah.
They were just a fill-in while they found somebody else. It's a Tommy jungle.
From looking at the last series and the scrim that I had against him with GSG, and the one I'm going to be seeing tomorrow against the other GSG team, he is the main carry of that team. Okay. I mean, their bot lane, the downfall of Subatomic Gaming is their bot lane.
And sometimes that can be it, right? We'll see what it is, right? Excuse me. As a person, I am more skeptical about rosters succeeding when they come together during the season. Like this one did. Mm-hmm. There can often be, and you guys have both run teams, you know how this goes, right? The honeymoon stage wears off, and cracks really, really start forming. And especially for a newer organization, I have less faith that they're going to be able to navigate those issues than I am of some other people. Like, for example, Arcs. Like, Arcs knows how, when these cracks and these issues start to appear, how he deals with them and how he consistently makes playoff teams. And Subatomic Gaming is relatively new, and I haven't seen them be able to weather these kinds of storms. That's really the only reason that I have them third over second.
It's all about how teams can deal with adversity when things change. And we haven't really had to see many teams tackle that yet, and that'll be a big deciding factor as we move forward.
And that's the thing about irrational predictions, right? A lot of the team's success comes from the organizational support that they have. Because over 12 weeks, issues are going to happen. Fights are going to happen. I don't know anybody who can be around another group of people for 12 weeks and not have the slightest bit of friction.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, I think we have one last thing to talk about this week. And that is we are going to do some finals predictions. Now, I know Arcs, the full of copium prediction.
I'm gonna start with semifinals because this is where the copium really starts. I'm putting Whooper Academy and GSG Iota into the Piltover semifinal. Like those two from that division are going to be in the semifinals, and from the other side, it's going to be GSG Psy and TD Syndicate. That's how it's going to come.
Is going to take down Whooper,
and GSG Iota is going to beat Syndicate.
That one wouldn't work. So
it wouldn't work, but it's going to happen.
Whooper will take down. Yeah, your draft. You're scuffed.
Basically, GSG will face off in the finals.
GSG versus GSG finals, and which GSG wins?
GSG Psy because they're the better team.
Okay, we've got strong copium fumes wafting off your breath. Bickle.
I went fairly boring. I drafted out my entire playoff bracket, 1 versus 4 from each side, went that way. The only upset I had happening in the first round was I had Whooper Academy, the 3 seed, taking down Subatomic Gaming's the 2 seed. But in the finals, I have TD Syndicate against Revolution X, 1v1, and in the end I have Rev X taking it.
I think that's completely reasonable, right? Like it's hard not to go there, in my opinion. I think that I'm gonna go a little spicy here, right?
I like spice.
And just because I was setting up slides and looking at things, and I did not plan particularly well, I'm gonna say, from Zon's side, Subatomic Gaming Antimatter makes it to finals. And I think I'm gonna say that that is against Whooper Academy.
Ooh.
Just because I have to be weird here, and I have
Hope-
no issues being super wrong. And I think that
Hope
Who
you
takes it?
I think Whooper Academy is going to win.
Damn.
That's what I'm liking to hear.
That's nice. That's a hot take.
That's a super hot take. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not. We both know.
It isn't. It's we don't know what's going to happen.
We don't know. And I will say that there is the strongest correlation of seeding to winning the entire thing, right? That I have observed in my time is first place wins most of the time. But almost as frequently, fourth place wins.
I think it comes down. It definitely comes down to seeding because when you get to the top 4 teams, or in that like general group,
Mm-hmm.
each team will play better against one team than the other.
Absolutely.
And you see that with Aegis, for example, TSF and Coach's Tyranny. They do. TSF beat Coach's Tyranny, but Coach's Tyranny beat Nameless. Nameless beat TSF.
It's stylistic too, and sometimes it's just who showed up on that day better.
Yeah.
On that thing to play. There isn't a hard science to this, right? Especially this far out. Who knows what's going to happen? Who's going to sleep with whose girlfriend or whatever else esports drama we want to insert here?
He's talking like we have girlfriends.
My bad. I assumed that some people touched grass.
Oh shoot. Does carpet count?
Close enough.
Dude, I gotta get through the airs of copium before I can touch.
Absolutely. But overall, this has been a wonderful, wonderful time. Do you have anything to say? Okay.
GSG.
I think either way, we're in for an exciting season.
This is, I've said it already, and I do genuinely believe this, that this might be the most competitive IBS league ever.
I think any of the top 6 teams from Piltover would make playoffs in Zon.
That's a spicy take. Did you say top 6?
Top 6. I think everybody but Iconic.
That's a spicy take.
That's a good take. I mean, you have to consider you only have to beat 2 teams because Glacial's a free win.
I will say that I do heavily favor the Piltover teams when it comes to playoffs. That I think we're more inclined to see Piltover versus Piltover finals than we are Zon versus Piltover or Zon versus Zon.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like Zon is one team and then the rest versus Piltover has like that top grouping who will be able to play each other and almost improve a little bit themselves. I'm worried TD Syndicate isn't going to be challenged until it's too late.
Momentum at the end of the season is going to be a huge thing. Who is going to start win streaking at the end? Who's going to start building their confidence? There generally is always a top team that falls short, generally coming off of a bye week. Bye weeks aren't friendly. Upsets are really common in IBS. Like, really common.
Don't want to talk about upsets, especially in RA. Don't want to talk about it.
I can understand that.
My team took probably the biggest upset in any IBS league ever.
No, I don't think so. But
TD Shadow taking a 2-0 loss to Snack Bears when they didn't have a win.
I mean, that is a big one. I would say.
Yeah, that's something.
I'm
that's
a big
definitely
fan of
something.
Feed the Dream ruining MIT's final streak after 4 consecutive finals appearances. Is a big one, but we can talk about this all the time, and I'm only going to remember like half of these because I'm the only one that remembers half of these references.
Hey guys,
Debuting TSF Solar Flare upsetting GSG in playoffs. Sorry, Leper.
I learned a lot of those from that series about the management and coaching of teams. A lot of my current hypotheses and beliefs about what a coach is, about what a team needs to be successful, started with you kicking my fucking ass.
So you're welcome?
I think.
yeah,
I don't
you guys
know.
want to pick the game of the week for week 3
Sure.
Game of the week.
for each side?
What is the series? Because I have OBS up and 2 monitors going, and I can't
Oh.
exactly move.
We have Hyperion Galaxy and Snack Bears. We have Anarchy versus Iconic.
Okay.
We have Whooper Academy and Revolution X.
That's definitely the Piltover game of the week.
Stream game.
That is indeed the stream game, provided the spectator client is working. You'll see Arcs and I again.
Yeah. On the side of Zon, you have Eden's Blazing Stars and TD Syndicate. You have Subatomic Gaming Antimatter, formerly known as Knights of Thunder, known from the Knights of Oblivion organization, against Goon Squad Gaming Psy.
Yes.
Yeah, then you have Glacial Academy versus TE Aeon, and then Feed the Dreams on a Pie.
So I'd say Piltover is Rev X versus Whooper. Zon is Subatomic Gaming versus GSG.
Yeah.
And I'd say overall game of the week is Whooper versus Rev X.
Yeah.
And I think both of those series are going to have big playoff implications.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that with where both teams are, with where we expect them to be, that tiebreakers might be decided this week.
That is true. I can see that. I think it matters more for the side of Piltover every week.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, these head-to-heads are going to matter so
There's
much for
probably
these.
Every game
two
matters.
Very quality teams that are not going to make it.
Like the GSG game, for example. I mean, they can lose this one.
Oh, definitely.
And easily still make playoffs. Because I'm positive TD Syndicate and Subatomic Gaming are going to be top 2. Regardless.
I think
Unless they crash and burn.
can be up there. That's not easier to say than Tenebris Esports Aeon. TESA does not work very well.
No. But I mean, I need to see them play more. Like,
I need to see a lot of people play more. Like this is
we need to see like all of these teams play more.
And that's the point. That's the fun of doing this now. Is figuring that out, and then also potentially making Leper eat hot sauce later in the season.
I look forward to Glacial Academy beating Tenebris Esports and proving all of us wrong next week.
Okay, I said this in the pre-show of ZGG last night. Glacial is literally the volunteer team. Literally, you don't know who's rostered every week. It's like literally like you have a rec lead, and it's like a team of just people who just show up to play, versus a team of rostered people. That's basically what Glacial Academy is.
I will take bets right now. Do Glacial Academy use 2 E-subs this week?
No. They used 1.
They used 2 last week.
I know.
They used 2 week 1 and 2 week 2.
I'm going to say they used 1 this week.
I say they used 2.
I feel bad, but honestly, you've done it so many times. I can't hold out hope this much.
Hey, Glacial Academy. I have an entire bot lane looking for a team. Their names are GSG Lemon and GSG Star. If you're interested, please shoot them a DM. They will be glad to play together. And it'll help you fill roster spots.
Sometimes that's what you need to do. I have seen that work out. And I don't mean that as a joke. Like, I've seen that kind of thing work out. Sometimes all it takes is stability and the same players playing together for a team to be successful. But I think we have said enough about Glacial. I think we're going to start repeating ourselves this evening. And with that, I think we're going to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.